So where we're standing now was a midden. This is a 3-kilometre midden. See through that lake there and through this lake here, they're dug down. When you have middens and you keep putting weight on it, it keeps going down.
Yeah.
And more comes on top. So it keeps compressing. So it was 15 metres high, 30 metres wide, and there's still remnants out that way. It was a huge midden, one of the biggest middens in Australia. And like I said, this was the pathway to the river when there was floods, so we'd use it. And it was also significant that it was used as the tail of the goanna for our Dreamtime story of the goanna and the snake over here. So the goanna, the sleeping goanna. So it was kind of, we started excavating. So over there we got the wall when we came through, and I said they used those stones from Blackhead to build that wall. We already started excavation here. We were trapping salmon. What happened when they had the cedar tree getting here on the Richmond River was they cut down so many cedar trees and they were floating them down the river that when they floated these cedar trees down, the sap got into the water, and it was just at that time when the salmon was doing the run, and so they killed the salmon in the Richmond River. And we didn't have any return of the salmon for over 200 years, but they returned in 2002, just a small amount. But the other thing that was happening too was on the south coast, that they were netting the salmon before they can get here as well. See, salmon have a memory code, and they can genetically remember where they first came from. And so they come back into the river, the Richmond River, to multiply again before they go back out to sea.
That's right, they go to their place of origin to spawn, don't they?
Yeah. So, but they get picked up before they get here too. So, poor us, poor them.
Yeah.
So what affects them affects us.
Yeah.
No, that water.
Oh, that water.
That waterway. That was the midden. That's how much they dug it out.
Oh, wow. So that's...
They harvested it.
Wow.
They harvested it for over 50 years.
Okay.
All the roads around Ballina.
Yep.
The midden was used for a road base before they invented bitumen or gravel or anything like that. It was all midden.
Midden.
Tip your shell. Yeah, it's protected, but what protection can you give it? Look how much protection we gave a massacre site.
Yeah, exactly.
Where are the human remains of our people? If 400 people were killed here on East Ballina, 150 on South Ballina, another 260 at West Ballina, where are their remains?
Where are
we
they?
would like to know where they are so we can go and pick up the remains of our people.
And actually give them a
When I
send-off.
did the demonstration here, protest to stop them from turning this housing estate into what it is, they waited for us to go. We'd be there until midnight. And then the truckies would come in as soon as we left. They would dig, bag the human remains and throw them in the river. There's bound to be human remains. Where are they? Where did they take the remains of our people after the massacres? Did they burn them all? Did they bury them all?
Did they put them into some sort of scientific research?
A lot of bones was taken to Europe, and they're still on display at this very moment in their museums. The cross to us is the sign of the Creator, the wooden cross. So when the Europeans came to Australia, they wore the wooden cross. So we associated them with the Creator and thought they were here for good, but they weren't.
They weren't.
They were only here for our land.
Yeah.
Steal our land and make money. So it was very confusing because our traditions had been globalised but changed slightly from country to country.
Yeah.
With their stories with the dragons, or their stories with David and Goliath, or their stories educated and talk properly, in respect of one another in the world. So that's why we say that was when the time when the earth was soft. And because we, the beginning of the human race, basically, the Homo sapiens came from Australia. We were here 100,000 years before the African man. At first off, they thought that we crossed over from Africa to Australia, but now the timeline's changed in Australia, and it's been proven that our people are more than 300,000 years on this planet. And we have that association with Egypt. Egypt had a songline with us as well. We traded with Egypt for more than 15,000 years, nearly 20,000 years. We also had that association with India, where they use all the ochres and the colours. Some of their traditions with child marriages. We had ours all betrothed as well, and sometimes some of those women were promised before they were born and betrothed. We had laws around that sort of stuff too, which is the same as the Indians did. So the Indians came here, they took a young man and a young woman, they were only a little girl and a little boy, over to India, and that's when that whole stuff came with the child marriages. It came from Australia. And they educated that young boy and that woman till they were grown up, until they was about 21, in archaeology, astrology, architecture, and then they were sent by the Indians to Egypt to help the Egyptians out because of the climate change that was occurring there at the time. And so that young man who was 21, he took up his boats that was donated to him by the Indian people of India, and he took an army with him, and he went to the shores of Egypt. And when he jumped out of that boat onto the land, the Egyptians thought that they were there to fight them. But he turned around to them and he said, "I'm not here to fight you, I'm here to help you." And so technology was developed then in Egypt alongside with our people. And he always had this thing, that young man, that he would always return to Australia. When he died, he wanted to be buried back in Australia. So he helped them build their pyramids, and they would travel back and forwards from Australia with their flat-bottom boats. And my ancestors talk about that too. My first learnings was also about the Egyptians and the trade that we did with the Egyptians. So they'd go back and forwards from Australia, taking these huge rocks from here to Egypt and building those pyramids. So one of the pharaohs, one of the last pharaohs, I think was a female. But we had a bloodline with the Egyptians as well. The Egyptians had an Aboriginal bloodline, so it was customary for their pharaoh or their empress to marry an Aboriginal man or woman. So they'd come here and select their wives, and then they'd go back over there with the man. If the woman was the pharaoh, then she would mate with him and come over and meet with him, have his children. The firstborn, if the firstborn was a woman, she'd be the next pharaoh of Egypt. And when she came over, that last pharaoh, there was a big storm down there at Gosford, and she and the boat was swamped by a huge wave, and she was drowned, her and a number of her servants. It's inscribed in the writings in the hills there in the sacred forest of Gosford, and it talks about the man that she'd come over to be with. He also died during that big storm, and they buried him on Lion Island, and they buried her in the sacred forest just outside of Gosford. And so that it was inscribed in the walls where she was buried, the story of what happened to her. So as far as I know, that 5,000 years ago, the Egyptians stopped talking to us, because that was when the Romans invaded Egypt.
When Rome came, yeah.
So to protect us, they stopped conversing and they stopped talking about us because they didn't want us found.
It's interesting that your throats go in while you're saying that. The minute something is silenced.
There's something with silence,
Yeah.
too. It was a silence then. There was 5,000 years of silence.
Yeah.
Because people came here for knowledge, people came here for medicines,
Yeah.
Healing techniques, shaman, more understanding of the spirit world, our great gifts, magic, etc. We had clever men and clever women.
Yeah.
Like the great magician that was taken over there to Egypt. He was a clever man from Australia. And I think when you see the photos of the great magician, you will see the hatching across his chest. And
Yeah.
that's what we do in Australia. They have the markings across their chest. And that's how he was able to tell he was an Aboriginal man, a clever
Wow.
man. So that whole setup there, over there in Egypt, is a map of the sacred temples and the burial place of that particular pharaoh, that female pharaoh, over there in Egypt. That is a template or a map of where she died and was kept.
Yeah. Wow.
Here in
So
Australia.
it's all mirrored over here.
It's all mirrored. So if you look at how all those pyramids are set up, etc., and the lion, the sink, it's the same
Yeah.
from here.
Yeah.
It was so that they could find their way back and be able to follow those markings.
Well, it was all mapped in the stars as well, wasn't it? Because the Sphinx and the pyramids.
But that was a land map
Okay.
of these sacred places where we could look at the celestials as well
Yeah.
in the stars because of our great relationship with the stars.
Yeah.
My great uncle talked about we had a great relationship with the stars and the star people too.
Yeah.
That they came down and visited us.
What do you know about the galactics or the star people? Do you know? Are there any stories about them?
I have my own story.
Yeah.
I guess I have been contacted
Yeah.
first, second and third kind.
Yeah.
When I was on my 17th birthday, they made contact with me. Not only did they fly overhead and appear over my house and wait for me to come out and see them, but they also, one of them actually materialised in my house and touched me when I was about 17 on my 17th birthday. And so I started to do a lot of lots of tests done then from our people. Just a lot of visions and how do you say, astral travelling and things like that happened not long after I had contact with the galactic. And then they came back again when I was about 35, and across that road from my house was a ring,
Yep.
like a spaceship had landed in the cane paddock and had flattened out everything. And during that particular week I had to have an operation and I died in hospital a couple of times, and they let me out and I came home, and that's when that ring appeared, and they hung around our community for about 2 or 3 weeks. And I do believe that it actually landed on my roof and then moved over a little bit further from my house, because I died 3 times that time, and I saw them come in and save me. There was another woman up the island who was completely blind, and they had a rope from her caravan into the house so she could find her way just by using the rope. They took her as well, and the following day she was able to see perfectly.
Wow.
They took her in to get her tested, and they found that the technology that was used to repair her eyes is not available in this day and age.
Was she born without sight, or?
No, she went blind from diabetes.
Oh, wow.
So she was blind, completely blind,
Wow.
and she was able to see. Some of the men were driving their car, and they blacked out, and they found themselves in a paddock the next morning, and there was no tyre tracks to where they came from.
Wow.
So they do. They have been watching us for quite some time. When I went up to Brisbane to the Nature Nations Tribunal at the federal court up there, there was this tribunal. They were talking about the Glycinian basin over there, or riverbed in Western Australia for the Fitzroy, and talking about protecting this Glycinian base. And there was a German man that turned up, and he opens up by saying that he's not from this planet.
Yeah.
that he's visited Australia on a number of occasions. He even visited back in the 1930s when the wars was going on. But he comes back every now and then to check on us and to see how we're going. And so in this particular time he came over to try and support, the protection of the Glycinian base over there in the Fitzroy River. And he said, I won't tell you where I came from, but I'm not from this planet. And there was another man there too who had a blue glow in his neck. Every time he turned sideways there was a blue glow. And so we thought that he's not quite human, this one.
Yeah.
So there was these amazing people that was at this Nature Nations Tribunal trying to address the fact that nature has a right to live too.
Yep.
So we had intergalactic visitations at that same meeting that came in to observe.
When was that meeting?
That was in 2016.
2016.
In September, up in Brisbane.
Yeah.
I met with quite a few people from all around Australia. There was about 5 different cases that was being aired at the time to the tribunal to try and enlighten the Australian government that nature has a right to live too. So that 500-year-old tree has a right to live just like we do as human beings.
Absolutely.
And if you go and build your house under a tree like that, it has more rights than your house. So if your house foundation gets disturbed, etc., the tree has more rights. It's been here longer than us, and it should be acknowledged and respected that life on this planet deserves to be acknowledged and have a right to live too. And we are all animals here on this one place we call Mother Earth, and we have a right to live just like the same with animals. You kill our animals, you kill us, because we all live on this planet together, and we all desire water. If you poison our water holes, you kill the animals, but you kill us too, because we drink water. You pollute our areas, our space, then you kill us too, because we're part of the landscape. We've always been part of the landscape. And we have rights to live just like those animals. We are animals ourselves.
And is there any kind of global council or global meetings between Indigenous people throughout the world? So like the Aborigines, the Native Americans, the Maori, all the different, because I think as there are coming together now of Indigenous cultures.
They've been having it for quite a while. Last 30 years they've been having the International Indigenous Peoples Gatherings.
Yep.
And it's held in various countries, or South Pacific Islands, New Zealand, Australia, Hawaii, many places. Each year they change where it's being held.
Yeah.
And it's a celebration of culture as well. It's just not there for us to whinge, but it's there for us to get support and have our plights and our knowledge recognised, and to try and seek some reasonable action that is complementary to the environment that we live in, because we're pretty involved with the ecology. The ecology of our planet is very important. When you clear out land and turn them into desert, it changes the atmosphere, because the wind, the water, the moisture, all of that, you take it away from some area, it builds up in another. So that might be why you get tornadoes and cyclones, because various spaces on our planet is being so damaged that the planet itself is finding it hard to repair. But it's not too late.
No. And is there like a, because I know like my belief about what's going on this planet, like the bigger picture kind of stuff. In your opinion, is there some sort of global shift, global awakening happening? How do you see it?
I spent 2 years working on the global awakening. I stood with Standing Stones, with their rebellion against the American government with the pipelines, where they said that the oil pipelines was essential, for their energy source, but really there's no guarantee that the pipeline will not break.
Yeah.
And there's no insurance at all that would ever cover the damage that a pipeline could do to country once it breaks. And the fact is that the river, if the pipeline breaks, could affect 150,000 people over there on that particular particular river, if not more, over maybe 5 million people would be affected if that pipeline break. And so that's why the American Indians stood solid, took the rubber bullets, took the ice cold water, took all the beatings and punishments, being treated like dogs, because, you know, their main belief was that water is life.
Yeah.
And we need good, clean water on this planet for our survival.
Absolutely.
So we're protecting the waters.
Yeah. I think
yeah.
in one way, that coming into the news in such a prominent way has sort of made, there's a lot of kind of privileged white people now who, you know, we used to swallow the stories we were told by our governments and things like that, but you're seeing
It's
now
brainwashing.
it's like so many different people, children of the earth, right, waking up and realizing that there's something amiss, there's something going wrong, very wrong here. But do you think that we're going to be able to make positive changes in time? Do you think that, are we headed for destruction on this planet, or are we headed for a huge awakening and a new golden age? What's your opinion on that?
There's plenty of destruction on the horizon, but there's also a huge awakening. The women are waking up. The stories are being told. People are listening. We talk to the women. The women are the bearers of our children. They are our future. They give us life. The women are now encouraged to stand up and make their voices be heard, and start softening our men so that they can understand that there's more to life than money and greed, that we have a duty to take care of the place that we call home, our planet, Mother Earth. It is not disposable. It's not like your TV. Once it breaks down, you throw it out. Our planet is not like that. You can't just dispose of a planet and move to Mars.
Mm-hmm.
There is a whole ecology on Mother Earth that links all of us in this world. We are all tied together with that one thread called Mother Earth and sacred waters. We are the people of the land. From where we came, we shall return. The land gave us life. Life is the land. This is where we stand. She gave us the heavens and the power to see its glory and to hear its earthly calls. My land and my mother are one in one. We are her children and we belong to this land. She quenches my thirst with her cooling waters and shades me from the heat of the day and fills my body and soul with her life's energy. My land, my mother are one in one. We are her children. We belong to this land. My land. My mother's land. This is where we stand.
I'm here with the amazing Lois Cook, who is a local Indigenous woman here in the Byron Bay region, and she's been an amazing guide for us today. She's taken us around and shown us some sacred sites. She's shared her dreaming stories with us and so much more. Lois, you're such a font of knowledge. It's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you for having us today.
My pleasure. Let us know when you want to return to Australia and the homelands again, and take you out and show you some more
my God, I'd love
fantastic
to.
sites to visit. I do 1 day tour, half day tour, anything up to 3 to 4 day tours. If people want to learn a little bit more about country, get involved with law, get involved with some of our cultural practices and ceremony, as well as, you know, learning some crafts like weaving. Yeah.
Amazing. And you're an artist as well, I think.
Yes, there is some of my paintings on the website. So to contact me, my website is www.aboriginalculturalconcepts.com.
Amazing.
Okay, you can find me on that website and drop me an email if you're coming into Australia and you want to have a Indigenous guided tour or Aboriginal guided tour. You can contact me on my website.
And some amazing bush tucker too. Lois, thank you for talking to me today. Can I give you a big hug?
Yes.
Thank you.
Lovely.